Well, what's the crack? How are you getting on? You're all very welcome to episode 121. 121 of Buckshot for Friday, 26th of July, 2019. Oh, Jesus, you wouldn't feel it going now, sure you wouldn't? You wouldn't feel it going. Oh, Lord. Thank you very much to all the Patreons and whatnot. I can tell you one thing, them new mic stands worked out a fucking treat. Yeah, they're sorting the issue of, I've noticed what they're doing is they're perfect for people who aren't used to holding a microphone for a long period. Because a lot of the time people they're chatting away, but next thing their hand just drifts off to the sides of their ear, but their face stays looking at you. So sometimes you get this, hey, so I was like, but not when it's held right there in front of you, you find people go, I have to stay here. So it worked out a fucking treat. Also, fair play to everybody who bought any stuff off the Tea Republic shop. A couple of more bits. Somebody bought a hoodie. I don't know where it's gone, but good on you. It's all there in the show notes or the description, as whatever you want to call it, down the bottom of this. If you want to contribute to the podcast, there's also, it helps. It helps. It helps. So new person signed up, and I'll talk about it on Tuesday. I can't work out your name. I'm hoping it's a real person, because if that's your fucking name, yes, but we'll talk about it on Tuesday. Gigs this weekend. I'm in City Limits Comedy Club on Saturday night down in Cork, which I cannot fucking wait. And then Tuesday, I'll be over in the Roisin Dove in Galway. Yeah, myself and Ger Staunton, and I don't know who else is on. Let me think. No, I can't help tell you who else is on, but it's easy to find. I've been reliably informed that everybody's going to be hungover to fuck because of it's race week. Yeah, where people just race anything. They're going to race all sorts of things. It's not primarily horses. You can just race, cats. You can race whatever, gerbils. Go for it. You can just race a football down the street. It's just all about races. It's and many races too. It doesn't matter what race you are. You can race anything you want. So it's just all out race week. And I'll be there at the Roisin Dove on Tuesday night. Yeah. So tickets are selling away for Caveman. A few people are coming over from the UK to see me. I think they're coming over to see the Newtown Abbey gig. I think fair play. Good on you. So anybody else, get on board. It's going to be a good crack one. Yeah. Right, I'm not going to get out of the way because I have to take herself, and by herself I don't mean the wife, I mean the dog, to the groomers. Finally getting a fucking haircut. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what comes out, because at the moment, the little fucker, when she jumps into the hedge, she just comes out looking like a yeti. So it's off to the groomers in the next half an hour. So I need to get this one pumped out this Friday morning. My guest today, we ran into each other at a comedy club. That was essentially it. It was love at first sight. He's a pundit, a former pro-rugby player, and now physio, and kind of one of the most understated blokes you'll ever meet. Like, he's like, yeah, no big deal. I played rugby professionally, and now I'm a cool physio. But he's like, no biggie. He's one of the cool... this fucking chat could have gone on for ages. There was a bit of racket in the background because it was fucking hot as balls in his office in Rathmine, so we had the window open. But it's grand. It's just a bit of ambience in the background of just trucks and fucking motorbikes going by and all the rest of it. But it was a very, very enjoyable chat. And like I said, I could have gone on for fucking hours and hours. So sit back and enjoy the brilliant Andrew Dunne. Yeah, it's got that nice New York vibe. Andrew Dunne, we're off to the fucking races. Is it Andrew or Andy?
Because everyone who really knows me, there's not that many people, would call me Andrew. So it sounds formal. So I used to have an opinion on it in my 20s, because people started calling me Andy. I think actually it was more media in rugby would report on stories and say Andy Dunne did whatever.
Right.
So my mates would always laugh because they'd hear various Southside rugby lads say, I met Andy Dunne, and they'd be like, no, you fucking didn't, because like no one calls him Andy. They all said. So if they ever heard anyone call me Andy, they knew the person didn't really know me.
So it's Andrew.
Well, I don't give a shit anymore because everyone calls me Andy. Nobody calls me Andrew, so don't bother correcting them, and I don't care.
And you're probably you're.
But my family or friends,
They're
no
all
one's
Andrew.
ever called me Andy ever, except
Really?
people who didn't know me.
That's good going, getting away with it, like, because you played pro rugby and you didn't they didn't try and shorten your name.
No, they did. It was Andy. That's where the Andy came from.
But other rugby players that you played with?
No, Dunner it used to be.
Dunner,
yeah.
It's full of imagination, these guys, aren't they?
I don't know how they came up with that one, but...
Well, do you know what? I was driving over and I was like, this is the perfect... You're a fucking genius. You're a fucking genius. You played pro rugby for how many years? 10 years?
10 years, yeah.
A job that every single day of your working day, you get hurt.
Yes.
Yeah. That in pro wrestling and I don't know what else. Like, you get hurt every day.
Yeah.
Even little hurts.
Yeah.
And you smart bastard, became a physio off the back end of that. You're like there's no better way. Like, that's like, fucking being a farmer and then becoming a fucking slaughter merchant, like, afterwards.
Well, I thought it was funny because at the end of I had 6 surgeries before the age of 28. That's how hurt I got. Now, I was small and stupid in that.
I know that feeling.
Kept taking on guys twice the size of me, particularly when I was young and when I thought I was invincible from about 19, 20, I was very fast.
Yeah.
So what used to work for me at 16, 17, 18, 19, when I went up the grades to professional level, doesn't work the same.
Oh.
So I was like, I'm going to take on these guys. I'm faster and better, and I got the shite knocked out of me. So I ended up having 3 surgeries before the age of 22. Major surgeries, like reconstructive surgeries.
And like shoulders?
Full shoulder reconstruction, full ankle reconstruction, and a leg break in 3 seasons. So by the end of my 20s, I was a walking rust bucket. I couldn't.
Really? Pins everywhere.
I was struggling to run, and my left knee was dodgy. So I went and looked at career options, and a fella from the Irish Rugby Union, they had a player liaison guy. He did one of these psychometric tests.
Right.
On me, and said it would suggest you like service, this being of service. And I at the time I thought he said, "Do you mean
hotelier?
As a hotel bar waiter?" And he was like, "No, any kind of service industry." Then he did a few more things, and he suggested healthcare, and I immediately thought about, Jesus, that it did have a sudden sheen to it.
So what age? You're 28 at that stage?
28, yeah, 20 going on 29, and then. Long story short, I ended up in the College of Surgeons and I qualified 4 years later, but I thought I was going to be very much like you suggested, a sports physio, because I had the sports background.
Yeah.
And you learn by just naturally being around it all day long. There was physios and doctors in our lives every day, and you hear their language. Your average professional sportsman of any sport will know names that the guy or girl in the street won't.
Yeah.
They'll come in and describe an injury to you, and they have it in great detail what's going on. So I thought I'd go down that route, but the longer I worked in hospitals, the less I liked the idea of going into sport. To be honest, I wouldn't go near it now.
Why?
You're dealing with a lot of egos. You're dealing with a lot of high demand. You're dealing with people who want to be better yesterday because there's huge pressure. There's management pressure. There's zero.
It's like being a race car mechanic. Like, there's no crack in that.
There's zero crack in it. And everything is high pressure, high stress, high performance. I hate the word high performance. It sickens me.
It's such a wacky word.
It's horrific. So when I started working with people over the age of 45, 50, I just had way more crack.
Yeah.
And it's plain and simple, I started to enjoy it more. And I went, what's happening here? I was trying to be reflective. And there was a fella who I was working with in a hospital bed who had an amputation below the knee. He had diabetic complications. So he had an amputation. Now he was getting up out of bed. He had a catheter bag.
Jesus.
He had a bedpan. He had all these things. But he was trying to stand up on the leg that wasn't amputated, and we were just holding him in various positions. Now I was down by his ankle at this stage, and his catheter bag kept it kept swinging and hit me in the face. So no, this is true, right?
So a bag of piss.
So the catheter bag was swinging and hit me in the face, and your man could see me trying to just press on, and he said, "And you thought you'd be rubbing Brian O'Driscoll's hamstrings?" He said, And he said that to me, and I thought, Jesus, I used to think I did, and I thought I honestly didn't want to be in any other environment. I was like, your man, like, we get on great, got to know him for a few weeks before he was discharged from hospital. You're spending time with people on the ward. So the crack we'd have out of each other, you know, and that type of thing is different to what high-level sports physio is. I'd already gone through 10 years of this shite of constant stress, demand. It's my brother refers to professional sports environments as joy vacuums. And they can be.
Try sitting backstage at a comedy club.
Really?
To be fair,
what's it like backstage in the comedy club?
It can be all right, but if you all know each other and you get on well, it's oh my God, it's a murderer's row. Like, you better be comfortable with your shoes you're wearing, your fucking haircut, everything, like, because it's all, it's just nasty. At a level of nasty that and if people, like, I've seen people step in and they'll just step back out again and go, I cannot sit amongst these, like, because it's just a mincing. But typically, if you don't really know each other, on their phones,
really quiet.
Yeah. But then you're a coiled spring, like, because, you're ready to go for the, but people assume that you're savage crack all the time, like, know. Yeah. Not always the way.
Are you not, no?
No, I'm all right. I'm getting better. I used to be a real angry motherfucker all the time. I was angry all the fucking time. And it worked well for stage, like, but I'm finding that balance now where I'm actually enjoying stage and enjoying being off stage as well, like,
You sound very balanced.
But I had to find, because I would go mental if all I did was stand up.
Yeah.
So now the acting thing that has come up too, and podcasting and meeting actual people and talking to actual people about things that interest me, like, that keeps me, because I probably have a level of ADT too, like, where I just can't. One thing, no. If I focused in on one thing, I'd be no crack at all to be around. Like. But it's interesting you said that he did a psych test on you at 28, and you found the fucking perfect thing for yourself, like, isn't it?
And like, I never in my life thought of doing healthcare. Not once did it enter my head. And what I did afterwards, I went to the team doctor. He passed away 2 years ago, Arthur Tanner, and I asked him, I said, I'm after getting this result on the psychometric testing.
Yeah.
What do you think? And he was kind of said, well, Jesus, because you've been fucking asking enough questions for the last 8-9 years about it. So you maybe have a natural curiosity, because by nature, you're going to lose your job if you don't get healthy again and fit.
Yeah.
So I would ask a lot of questions, and I would probably annoy them into giving me the answers. What do I need to do to get right quicker?
Yeah.
So, again, another reason why I probably don't go after the sports physio routine.
It's just intriguing that I've never heard somebody get their perfect job from 28 to 28. Like, isn't it interesting how fast they rush us through the likes of the leaving cert, get into college now, choose what you want to be for the rest of your life when you're 17.
Yeah.
With no psycho tests, like, whatsoever.
No,
I remember doing one years when I was about 14, and it was like a paint by number style thing.
Yes.
All of the class did it. And when it came around, because I could tell what way the tracks on a digger went, he went, you're clearly going to be an engineer of some sort. Like, I suppose I'm going to be an engineer then, am I? Yeah. So I went on and became a civil engineer. Enjoyed it, but I was just furious through the whole job because the pressure was just didn't suit me, like, that kind of way. So it is interesting that...
Well, we did DATs. They were called differential aptitude tests. I remember in fourth year. And we had a careers guidance teacher that we all used to get great crack out of, but I got 90s in everything except 2 25s in 2 other, mechanical reasoning and spatial relations. And I remember she wrote a report.
Spatial awareness.
Yeah. She wrote a report saying, the report said Andrew is a character of light and shade, which made me sound very, very odd afterwards. So
girls would be into that, though.
Moody, mysterious, angry,
just grow a beard
sexy,
and start writing poetry, like smoking cigarettes in the corner of bars in France.
Yeah, when I was 16, I was like, fucking light and shade, what does that mean? And why did I get 25 in 2 of these and 90 and everything else? So I had a weird mix, whatever the hell it was. I was good at spelling, very good at spelling, but Jesus, I couldn't do what you just described.
Was my thing. That was my thing. It was that way around. Like. But it was, you grew up in the countryside in the 80s, you have to become fairly mechanical because there isn't a man to ring. Yeah. You better learn how to fucking weld.
See, I'm a dove, and my mum would consistently say growing up to my dad, would you just ring a man about that? Like, get it done.
All my friends
we need a man in.
There was a man to be gotten.
Yeah. I'm saying Marion, she's from Tipperary.
Oh, yeah.
From a farm, and if her dad and brothers saw what I can't do, I'd say if they knew, then they're going to find out now. If they
of course they
listen to
are. Yeah, of course they are.
Other than changing a light bulb, I get a rush of testosterone if I change a light bulb.
Here's the thing, though. Chances are,
roll up the sleeves.
No, if they're from Tipperary and they know you're from Dublin, what school to go to?
Belvedere.
They know for a fact.
And I played cricket.
They would be, and you played cricket. They would be fucking amazed.
Hurling for the gays.
Yeah. They would be. Trust me, they already don't think you can have a hand to wipe your arse.
Yeah.
They have no respect for you whatsoever. Manually, they have no respect for you whatsoever.
Yeah, true enough.
It would be like my two sisters are married to guys from Cork. One is from Cork City, and he has learned about like tools and whatnot from my sister.
Yeah.
Like, because God bless him. Like as the old lad said, turned up first day, his fucker was looking for an on switch on a hammer. Look at this thick fucker.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just, you call yourself a grown man, for fucks, you know?
Yeah.
But it was just, that was the way it was. You just had to learn. So whether you were mechanically minded or not, you better get your shit together, because there just wasn't a fella to ring.
Yeah.
It stayed broke.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. It stayed broke, and you just worked around it.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. Did you play cricket in school?
Yes.
With a surname like Dunne?
Well,
jeez, that's a strange one.
There's an interest. Cricket, it's a little topical now because Irish Catholic, born and raised in North Dublin, just captained England to win the World Cup.
That's incredible. Is he Catholic?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were allowed to play
in North County Dublin. The history of cricket in loads of pockets of Leinster and Dublin is very much Catholic game. And it's just, obviously, the game is home is in England. It's everything that we think we're not.
It's so British.
It's an amazing game.
Is it?
I had the best sports coach I ever had in my life, including all the professional coaches I had, was my cricket coach, who was an English, born in England. His name was Robin Waters. He died about 3 years ago.
Right.
His life story should have, if anyone could have, or some journalist should have written a book about him. Born in England, his dad was in the British Army, and his mother was from, I actually think she was from Nina in Tipperary, where Marion's from. And they got shipped off to India. So he went to secondary school in India. He played for Bengal. In India now, you're talking in front of 100,000 odd people in Eden Gardens, and they used to flash mirrors from the sun into their eyes with guys throwing cricket balls at you 90 miles an hour. Like, that was survival of the fittest stuff. But he went back he was very bright. He got into Oxford, did a law degree in Oxford, played in Wembley for Oxford in football, got his Oxford Blue in cricket, got a professional sports contract with Surrey, I think it was, as a cricketer.
Jesus.
Then he went out with Julie Christie, the Hollywood actress.
What?
And then he converted to, he left, he was in a famous car crash with an Indian prince. The guy lost his eye. This is all true, right? And then somewhere in the middle of all that, he converted to Catholicism. He'd kind of an estranged relationship with his father. His mother was from Nina. He went home to his roots. And he converted to Catholicism, and he got a job as the sports coach in Belvedere College in 1970. And then I was in Belvo from 88 to 98, 10 years, and he was our coach. And that was his background. And he was incredibly good at what he did.
Wow. What a fucking story.
Amazing bloke.
Will we just end the podcast now altogether? Because that's...
Yeah. But I mean, so and he was tough, like, as well. And a real competitor. And he would coach teams in a sporting sense. He was technical, but he was more about match play and how do you win every single time you play. So he kind of, suddenly you got a team of 14-year-old competitive freaks, because all you did was you won every training session. You just learned how to work out how to win. Yeah. Everything was a match. Everything was scored, and he would doctor the scores to make it close at the end of a training session. So you were going at it. So even though it was cricket and it doesn't look physical or tough, I learned a hell of a lot about sport from him.
It's one of them sports that anybody I talk to that know about it, they fucking love it. So I do feel like I have to find out about it, and actually learn about it.
The purists love the long form of the game, last 5 days. No one really in the modern world in their right mind is going to follow that.
Yeah.
But the shortened form is razzmatazz,
Is it the
20 over, yeah.
Yeah, the 20 over, yeah.
So I did do physio for sports with that. I did 20 over. I managed to land a job in the Caribbean Premier League as a physio.
When?
So I 2013, 2014 did 2 summers out there. And
you foxy
yeah,
fucker.
yeah, that was a nice little gig.
Yeah, you didn't get one like in Yorkshire.
No,
you know what I mean?
no, St. Lucia.
St. Lucia.
Well, no, actually travelling around all the Caribbean islands.
Belvo,
but I was the St. Lucia physio.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How did you land that one?
Belvo lads. My mate was the CEO, and he said we need physios for these teams.
You're unreal.
There you go.
Yeah, do you know what? And
jobs for the boys.
Jobs
literally.
for the boys. You may as well take them if they're going.
Why wouldn't you? Who in their right mind to turn it down on principle?
I remember there was
Sorry, no, I didn't earn that job.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to refuse St. Lucia for the next 2 months.
Damn right. Because I remember I lived with a lad it was a J1 in Boston, and he was in Black Rock.
Yeah.
And my mate, he was in Rockwell. And the lads just had connections all over Boston.
Yeah.
Apparently the lad from Black Rock, according to my mate, he went on, he played Munster under 19s, all right, but we played together in Shannon. But he was saying that the lad from Black Rock, if he wasn't such a fucking stoner, he walk into any pro setup. Like he was keeping Brian O'Driscoll off in first year off the J, second year kind of, but just loved getting fucked up.
But there's loads of stories like that, probably across.
Oh, no doubt. That was the thing I wanted to ask. Because you, anytime I ever listen to you, you kind of, it's almost tongue in cheek. You're like, as a rugby player, we should relax. You know what I mean? Like when you hear other fellas, they talk about any sports, typically they'll talk, they lived and breathed it and they did, where there's almost a kind of a jovial, it was a cool job to have for 10 years. That was kind of the vibe I get off you, like.
Well, I had an interesting thing. I actually preferred GAA and soccer.
Did you?
I much preferred not. You couldn't ask me that at 18. This is on reflection. Well, for a start, if I was ever had any free will at that stage, I was picking up a soccer ball.
Right.
But I was in an environment, honestly, what I think, this is the tearful moment, but it was more...
God,
it was more wanting to be accepted. I was like, everyone else is doing it, and I'm good at it, and everyone goes, "You're great at it." So I was like, right, I'm around all my mates.
Yeah.
The coaches pick me every week. Whereas I go off my own doing the soccer and the GAA, and I would have loved it, but I just went ahead and stuck with the rugby. So it wasn't my first love from a sporting point of view.
Okay.
So in that sense, I think maybe that's where I come across relaxed. I don't know, but. And I kind of made a shite of it too. I didn't work hard enough at it.
Did you not?
No, not. What I would have done as a professional player was something brilliant, and then this quiet kind of expectancy that everyone's going to worship me for the next 4 weeks. So I wouldn't have to work hard in training, even the coaches. And I'd be like, I don't get these lads. Did they not see that piece of magic I did 4 weeks ago? And they'd be like, we had a match the following Saturday. Like, you didn't really train very hard Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday that week. This is what I recollect they must have been thinking about me. I was just a little immature. I was talented for sure. But the work ethic I have now, being self-employed, that's best part of 20 years later, is entirely different to what the work ethic I had then.
I suppose, but it came handy to you though. This is the thing. You didn't even particularly want to be playing rugby, but they went, listen, Andy, you're pretty class at this. Do you know? Well,
I was good at it, and I don't. Yeah, when you think back, like I didn't love every minute of it by any stretch. I loved those couple of moments too much.
Banging over a drop goal,
something sexy, something nice. I remember having a wall of defenders in front of me playing in Connacht against Ospreys, and Jerry Collins, he was died in a car crash about 2 tragic.
The All Black, yeah.
He was playing, and he was a brute, and he was literally like...
He just used to melt lads.
Stop. And I used to, I was in an era of playing against some of these back
Chabal, didn't he?
Yeah. Chabal was a good... So I used to play against Chabal, he was a number 8, and I was a 10, and he was at the peak of his career. He'd pick it off the base of his scrum and just sprint at me. 10-yard run-up. I was like fucking roadkill. Just lying on the floor. You're like a piece of chewing gum trying to hold on to him until someone else arrives to stop it. But Jerry Collins was queued up to go for me in this. And for whatever reason, I decided to do this ridiculous kind of mini chip kick kind of nearly around their backs ran through, the ball sat up, and I flicked it to a winger going in the opposite direction, and I walked off the field. Like, that was enough for me now. I was ready to retire. But the problem was there was like 30 minutes left in the match. That was my weakness. I could pull that out of the bag, but I had no interest in hanging around for the grapple then afterwards. Whereas I would in other sports. I don't know what it was.
You were a drag racer, like you just had gas for like an amazing moment of 10 seconds, and then after that
10 seconds worth of magic, and then the next few weeks, I was smoking cigars and telling people about it in pubs. Not your ideal professional sportsman that way, but
I suppose it's for. Was it of the time though, in a way, like, you know what I mean?
No. When I started, it was of the time, not when I finished. So 97, 98, I got my first professional contract, and you know, there was sports science was coming in. There was Mars bars on the sideline for refuel.
Oh, wow.
So lads like Reggie Corrigan were putting on weight, and they were like, "What's going on?" It's like, "Well, you had 3 Mars bars. You had 3 Mars bars during the session, Reggie. That's why."
That's what it is. Yeah.
But like, so it was a bit rag ball rovers at that stage. It was professional in name only, and you were getting changed out of the back of your car. You know, so it wasn't very professional compared to looking at Leinster, Munster.
One of the very few. I mean, minimum amount of fellas that actually got pro contracts back in the late 90s. Like, they weren't throwing them out to everybody. Like,
well, myself and Gordon Darcy got it out of our age group.
Right.
So at 18, out of school, Darcy got it in August, and I was peeved. I didn't get it till October. So
they probably had to send it all the way to Wexford. You see, that's the problem. He probably didn't get it at the same time as you either, though.
Oh, he was a freak of a schoolboy player, though.
Was he?
Oh yeah. He was way heavier as a player, bigger and heavier as an 18-year-old than he was ever as a professional. He became professional. He trimmed up.
But he was strawberries, like they're full of glucose, like
Wexford strawberries. Yeah, he couldn't absorb the sugar.
See, he almost got into a fight with John Connors online, the traveller actor chap. Yeah. He said the age-old.
When was this?
I was a couple of months ago, but he
didn't follow that. I wish I'd followed.
Yeah. Oh, you would have loved it because you would have chimed in right at the right time. But he'd put up something about somebody was slagging off where they were from or how people go after them for where they're from.
Yeah.
And he went, try being from a place that's only that the one slogan is only strawberries and knackers come out of that place.
Yeah.
And you're not a strawberry. And he put it in inverted
John
commas.
Connors put up.
No.
Oh, Darcy.
Darce put him up, right? And he put it up in inverted commas because it is a phrase that is said.
Yeah.
John Connors jumps on it straight away, being, you know, the white knight to all who are in need, like, and you're like, fuck off, John.
Yeah.
You're as scummy as the next fucker. If you're looking for a fight on Twitter, straight away he was like, I'll fight you tomorrow, Gordon. And I think Darce just kind of played it off like, no other, I'll scrap you. But chances are,
would be a great fight, that.
It would, and I think Connors talked himself up big, but I mean,
Darcy's a tough bastard.
I'm telling you, you can see by him, there's a gnarliness to him. Like, if he jumped on you, he'd
kill you.
You're not going to get him off too easy.
He's the type of lad that bite your neck. Or
Well, that's pure Wexford.
Stick a biro in your neck. Just something. Joe Pesci, he has it in him.
Does he?
He's as nice as pie. You can't do what he did at his size.
Yeah.
Week in, week out. He's the same size as me, maybe a kilo or an inch taller and a kilo heavier, but his position was fucking like in the middle of warfare every single week.
Well, I found out that was my position, but I found out that I wasn't going to have the attributes to take it. It's fine at maybe playing for the seconds in Shannon.
Yeah.
But then you're still meeting lads who are maybe coming back. They're all pro players who are coming back and they want a game.
Yeah.
Like I knew the day I went to grab a hold of Dennis Leamy at full tilt. I went, we might leave this off. I start playing for shittier teams.
The biggest hands in Europe.
He does. He does. We built. I was the engineer over the housing where we built one of the first houses he bought. And he rang me up one day. I swear to God, could you come up and have a look at this? I said, Dennis, I'm not a fucking plumber. Just come up and have a look at this toilet. I said, why didn't you call it a plumber? He said, because I want you to have a look at it. I went, oh, for fuck's sake. I went up and I lifted off the back. And all it was a hook that takes the handle and goes onto the ball cock. I'd come apart. Okay. Simple.
Put it back on.
Simple for somebody who doesn't have 2 bunches of bananas hanging off their wrists. The man could not get his hand inside the cistern.
I'd well believe it.
They were like Mars bars. These chubby fingers. I've never seen any. I looked and looked again. I said, Dennis, you need to talk to somebody about these hands. Have you got inflammation problems or something? Are you allergic to something? And he's like, no, well, you know yourself. Like, and it's like,
he was a rugby player, right? And I remember seeing Neil Ruddock remember BBC covered the footballers 10 years after retirement, did this brilliant documentary Gary Lineker did. He followed 4 guys. Neil Webb, he used to play for Nottingham Forest. Right. He's now was a postman. Neil Ruddock, Razor Ruddock from Liverpool. Yeah. And he had a famous quote in it where he said, well, I just didn't know how to go to the dentist. And Gary Lineker was like, well, how do you mean? And he goes, what do you mean you didn't know how to go to the dentist? He goes, I didn't know how to go to the dentist. I was rang my agent to see could I get a dental appointment, and the agent was like, you're not a footballer anymore, book it yourself.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know how to, like, what do I do? And he was like, you ring up the dentist and you book. But when you're in a professional sporting environment, and I know I'm doing Dennis a disservice and he'll crush me with his massive hands. No, but you do get shit handed to you on a plate literally all day long.
He said
and you're
exactly
like,
what you said.
Fear and lack of knowledge, and you're like, I don't know how to tie my shoelaces. Like, lads regularly forgetting passports. Yeah. Go to the airport. You're like, well, no one told me to bring my passport. And you're like, you're a grown man. You're going on a flight.
Pull up your trousers, like,
bring your passport. But the poor managers, like, are walking around pulling their hairs out. Not the head coaches, the admin managers of every team. Oh my God, I don't know how they do. They're up there with nurses for me in terms of, angelic amounts of patience.
It was. I don't know. I don't think it was Dennis, but a bunch of rugby players had bought up there. Like Frankie Sheehan and Mick O'Driscoll, and who was it? He was young. I can't remember who, but he rang me up one day. He was terrified. He'd gotten a guy to tile his bathroom, and the guy just smashed. He didn't know whose house it was because he was away in camp somewhere. And he just smashed off the waste pipe, tiled around it, didn't replace the waste pipe.
Okay.
And rather than ringing the tiler and fucking ripping him a new one, he rang me and went, "Can you talk to your man for me?" I went,
"This big.
You're a big ass motherfucker." It wasn't. No, it wasn't Dennis. Maybe it was. It's a big bastard anyways. Yeah. He will piss his pants when he realises who it is. He went, no, will you just ring him there altogether?
Yeah, he didn't want to.
Get the... But never had any ability of conflict. Yeah. Whereas I relish conflict. I was like, all right, I'll ring the fucker. Yeah. I'm going to say who I am. I'm going to pretend to be you just to use that scary moment. Like. Yeah. But and that was struck me. It's like, you're 24, 25 years of age. We're the same age, like, and I'm running a job with 200 men on it. Like, get your fucking shit together, will you? Yeah. We're supposed to be supporting you fuckers on Saturdays. Like, don't fucking let the guard down, like, and all of a sudden you're children. But you could see how it happened too, like.
But you can't blame rugby as well. I had a bit of a personality like that. I got in, after I did the leaving, I got into UCD.
Right.
Even though I got that professional contract, I didn't know I was going to get it. So I had applied, I did a commerce degree. And I always remember, no one drank tea in our house, and I'm from Blanche, I'm a North Sider. And I remember sitting around with a bunch of lads and girls.
You're West, really.
West, we're West Side, really. We'd say North, but we're actually West. But I was with a bunch of lads and girls, and whatever. I'm going up to get a cup of tea, and one of the girls said, can I get a coffee? And I was like, I immediately started to sweat. I was like, I don't know how to make a coffee. So I'd never made a coffee. No coffee existed in our house growing up. It was tea only. So I was walking around up in the cafeteria in UCD and I saw a massive sack in the corner, had coffee written on it. So I went over and I was tearing at this thing, the sack, and I eventually pulled out coffee beans, put them in a little cup and put hot water in, right? And the beans had floated up to the top. And I was really shitting it at this stage. It was like, I'm trying to impress your one. She wanted a coffee. And this little L one in a pinafore came over to me and she goes, what are you trying to do? And I said, I'm trying to make a coffee. And she goes, and you're in fucking third level education.
Yeah.
And she just walked off. She was like, these fucking twits. Like, she was walking around the cafeteria, probably would have loved to have got the opportunity to go to college, and she's looking at this gobshite walking around who's after getting into a degree course, and I couldn't make a cup of coffee. So I can't blame rugby on, being gormless. I just naturally was.
But again, like, I suppose, as you said, you grew up also in a house that there was a professional to get it. Okay, I'm not saying you had butlers, but there was no coffee. But also, you didn't need to learn how to wire a plug because there was a bloke.
There was a man to do it.
There was a man to do it.
It wasn't my dad.
A man down the road. Like, it was just a thing.
Yeah.
So I suppose, like cultures tend to have to be quite practical. Probably not so much nowadays.
Yeah.
But so it does. I was always surprised when I started going to college, like, and I'm meeting lads, and you're going, what? You fucking what?
Particularly Dublin lads, I'd say.
Oh yeah, well it was hilarious. Like, they were going, hold on, you were driving at 7. was like, yeah.
Yeah.
7 was actually about a year. I wanted to drive to my own communion. Are you fucking joking me? Like, you know, like...
Fag in your mouth.
Fag in my mouth. Oh, like, this is the thing. Well, I played rugby for Clanwilliam. You were... by the time you were 15, you were a man.
Yeah.
Good enough. 14, you were a man.
Yeah.
You were all smoking, drinking pints, made no odds.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to college, I was an owl lad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're all out fellas by the time we got to college. And you meet the lads that went to, like, you know, Glenstall Abbey or stuff, and they're like fucking cattle that have been left out after this fucking winter in. They're just trying to ride everything, drink everything. You're going, boys, be all there tomorrow, relax. You know, we were like that owl lads.
I think the boarding school lads really get that bad.
Deadly dangerous. Deadly. You didn't board?
No. There was no borders there, no.
Oh, how long was your school day then? Because some school days...
normal, 8:45 to 3:30 or normal.
Okay, yeah. Because still I see like some lads, like they have, you know, they're not getting home till like fucking 9 o'clock at night, like with some of these...
We would have rugby training and stuff afterwards, so I wouldn't get home till about 6:30, 7, but then it was dinner, Coronation Street, and do my homework.
Coronation Street, you loved it.
Well, it used to be on 2 nights a week only. I think now it's on every night or twice a night.
Every night.
I can't watch it anymore, but I loved it back then. Me and my mum would watch Corrie.
It was a thing, wasn't it?
Club milk, cup of tea, and then it was like, get up and do your homework now. But that was my treat, Coronation Street.
And your club milk.
Yeah.
I just imagine that's... And you wonder how you were so sheltered showing up like... In fucking...
Tough guy.
In college.
Tough guy.
Trying to make coffee with coffee beans. Smashing it with your hands.
Yeah.
And so you were playing... How long did you stay with Leinster then before you decided, I'm fucking out of here?
I didn't decide, really. It was a mix. I had
a loner?
4 years there, from 18 to 22, largely in hospital for the best part of it. Yeah. And I think I played 8 to 10 games or something in 4 years.
You were fresh, so.
Yeah. But I wasn't. I was
mentally, you were fresh, yeah.
I had loads of wires and screws in me. But one of these moments I refer to as, like, you know, my little magic moments. I had probably a standout game in my career, actually, against Clonetly in Clonetly.
Right.
And Phil Bennett, who was a Welsh out-half legend, was on BBC afterwards and said, who's this guy? You know, it was all very positive. And then I got injured, like, again 2 weeks afterwards. But
Jesus.
Someone from Harlequins had seen that match and had seen Phil Bennett make this comment. So around March the following year, I got a phone call out of nowhere from Harlequins. I was absolutely destined to lose my Leinster contract. It was gone. No, I knew it, and I didn't know what to do.
You played 8 times in 2 years.
I was like, my career's over. Like, so I was thinking that's the end of it. And some guy rang up from Harlequins, and suddenly they flew me over, and I was at a Premiership match, and they were meeting me, and they were talking about contracts, and I literally, you know, I just... Did
you have an agent at the time? Like,
I didn't. I got a guy. Then I was told to get a guy because they wouldn't deal with me. They wanted an intermediary for whatever reason. So I got a guy from Mike Strange by name, strange by nature, who was an ex-South African. He had done his army service for the South African for some fairly...
Oh, he was like Special Forces?
Special Forces.
Right.
You know, interesting character.
Definitely killed somebody.
Yeah, I would be fairly confident he had killed a man, yeah. So he was my agent. I thought, this is good. But he turned out to be a dud. You know, he was awful at his job. But interesting stories nonetheless. But he helped negotiate that contract. They suggested whatever to him. He just went, yeah, he told me. And within 2 or 3 months, I was packing my bags and off to foggy London town.
How was that like? So you're what, 22, 23?
I was 23, yeah.
Are you single?
Recently single, yeah. I was going out with a girl from 18 to 22, and then I was single, yeah.
Was she intrinsically tied with the Leinster contract? Like, was she? Were they that in depth? Were they covered even your girlfriends? They gave you contracted girlfriends.
Give you free girlfriend.
No wonder you poor fuckers were useless when you came out. You didn't even know how to pull a woman. They just sorted you out with a woman. Jesus. So off to London.
Off to London, yeah.
That must have been all right though at the same time, was it?
Yeah, it was great crack. Jesus, yeah.
Who did they house you with? Or
3 other players, and in the CEO of the overall organisation was a guy called Tony Copsey, who was an English guy who ended up actually famous. He played for Wales, and he knocked out Neil Francis Neil Francis the journo. He sparked him out in the game in Lansdowne Road. You know, I think it still hurts Frano because he wrote an article about it last year about why he really didn't fight.
That's
back.
great. I'm definitely going to tweet that straight after this.
So Frano did a good half page on the real reasons why he didn't fight back. But anyway, we were in Tony.
Because you got knocked out. You can't fucking fight back if you're fucking
you were
sparked.
pretty much unconscious. That's why. But so Tony Copsey was the CEO of Harlequins and had a house up near the ground. And for me and 3 other players were just put into it like cattle and look after yourselves, lads. It was some crack.
I would imagine that was some crack. All right. Probably you can't legally talk about most of it, I'd imagine. But I've had more Leinster players than I have had Munster players on this podcast, but I was talking with, I was hosting a Heineken thing with John Kelly one time, and John Kelly I'd often do it with John Kelly and like Mick O'Driscoll, and you'd have Golov on every so often, and Golov was always good for the old stories and stuff, but it came out, John, I think, he might have been going through a rough patch or something, but he just came up, we were just chit-chatting, and Eric Miller was there.
Okay.
And nothing to do with really rugby or Heineken or the match that was about to be played that we were watching. But I was like, so have you any gas, because we time to fill, like, and I said, so John, if you have an old funny story there, because Eric was just looking at the stars, he was the strangest man I've ever met, like. But he turned out to be quite a nice fella, but just a strange chap. But he says, any funny stories? He says, I'll tell you a good one. He says, it's about this man beside me. You could see him kind of, what's going on here? He goes, he says, it's just mad. He says, the people, he got really wistful, the people, and there's like 300 people watching us here, the people you end up rooming with. Like I was rooming with him one time for an Ireland camp in Killiney. I opened the door and he's just got the jacks open. He's absolutely stark naked sitting on the bowl, singing.
Eric.
Yeah.
I'd well believe it.
And he just then proceeded to just walk around the room, never putting a stitch on. Like.
Yeah.
I says,
a few lunges up on the bed.
Yeah. I says, I barely knew him.
Yeah.
But we roomed together, but it was all out for...
Yeah. Well, what was he all out for?
I don't know. Maybe he was on for it.
Maybe John wasn't on for the signals.
See, that's what I said to John, and then Eric just kind of... I thought Eric was going to go, whoa, but he didn't. No. He just kind of went, yeah, well, that's what it is. And that's what it is. And it was getting... Because I was so flabbergasted, I wasn't on it fast enough, because the audience were like, what weirdness have we stepped into here?
I think there's an underlying homoeroticism that goes on in these sports.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of nudity, a lot of ass slapping.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Like you listen to you listen to even the old dirty songs.
Yeah.
There's so much homo in it. Like it's heavy. It's heavy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do experiences like that where you're like, oh, I'm not rooming with this bollocks.
I roomed with Donnacha Ryan
fair enough.
At the tail end of my career.
He didn't introduce you to your missus, did he? He's from up that neck of the woods.
They're from Nina, yeah. No, he didn't. But I was 29ish and really finishing up. I thought, like I was Eddie O'Sullivan had picked me for I think it was the Six Nations squad in 08. Just as a squad member, I had absolutely no intention of being anywhere near the team. But it was probably just hold bags and training, and played on the A team. And there was a young lad called Donnacha Ryan who was picked, and I just happened to room with him. But we were in the Hilton in Leicester, and I went into the room, and I thought, well, this is the wrong room, because there was this lad sitting smoking a pipe out the window who looked about 46 and just went and just said, well, and I was like, oh fuck. I was shitting myself. Like, I was much older than him, much more experienced, but I just thought, oh, this lad, what's he going to think of me?
He's out of a cave.
Yeah.
Smoking a pipe of all things.
Yeah, he used to smoke a pipe. So I think he's cleaned up his act, and he's an absolutely super operator, like in terms of his fitness levels. He was I think he used to be a brilliant hurler, a brilliant swimmer, a brilliant golfer, a bit like Paul O'Connell.
Sickeners, like
one of those guys. But I never forget walking into the Hilton in Leicester. Well, with the pipe, and I was like, oh fuck.
But you did
it depends who you get with a room. Out halves often get little clean, good-looking scrum halves, you know.
Oh, is that the norm? Is it?
A lot of nudity then, a lot of walking around.
Yeah, of course, because there's no shame in the belly hanging out. Like, no, you're all in good nick. Like.
Yeah, little six-packs. But
six-pack. Just imagine.
Horrible, creepy stuff we got into. But no, so you wouldn't, the props would room with the props, they'd want to, but generally the smell out of their room, the grunting and farting and snoring and... Yeah, just different beasts, different animals.
That's the thing. People that play or watch on at rugby, I suppose, and they try to. They don't fully understand. It is 2 different species, isn't it?
Entirely.
Well, it's 3 different species. I think everybody from the front row backwards are some way. They're Cro-Magnon and maybe Crow something else, but then there's just straight Neanderthal in the front row, isn't it? Like
they are. Here's one thing, right, that is a common thread. I'll fight for their honour. The smartest, like academic, some of the most smartest academic guys in rugby I ever knew were the front rowers, almost across the board.
Yeah.
Really, really sharp guys. But just go into some kind of cave-like mentality to do what they need to do. It's beyond. I mean, it's so hard to describe. I played professionally for 10 years, and it's hard to adequately describe what it's like in there for them. I mean, I only know because I went and did it. I was put in when I was doing my coaching badges. They put me in the front row, and I literally, my legs were lifted up. They put me into scrummage.
It's the most terrifying
I started squealing.
thing.
I started really squealing, and I was like, just panic. I couldn't hear. I thought my head was being crushed, and my spine was going to break. I literally, and they all started laughing afterwards, and I just thought, someone should have done that to me as a player, because I'd have shut my mouth. I was very mouthy, and I would order lippy with these lads, like saying, I want more from you. Like, I don't know how they didn't come up out of a scrum and just crush me with their hands. Little mouthy pricks, and telling them they need to run around the corner faster. Don't leave me in trouble. Like, I need you on my shoulder. This, that, and the other. And they're after scrummaging against a train. Like, literally.
Have you ever seen that video for Red Bull? It was a promotional video for Red Bull where, was it Harlequins or maybe the England pack? It could have been Harlequins, where they put a special plate on the front of an F1 car. Now, they obviously had it on slicks on tarmac, but the boys were just off the tarmac onto the grass. So it looked like the front of a scrummaging machine on the front of this F1 car. The F1 car, foot to the floor, couldn't drive the lads backwards.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. It is freakish, and their bodies are different.
Their bodies are different. Yeah.
They're wider around the abdomen. You know, they're not all muscles and you know.
But even their bones are bigger.
They're big. Yeah. They're big around. The New York Times did an amazing article recently about the shape of a left ventricle in a swimmer's heart is different to the shape of the left ventricle in a runner's heart, because one is working against gravity. You're upright when you're running, and the ventricle has to work harder to pump blood around the body. So the swimmer doesn't have to do that, and you're in a non-upright position. So over thousands of things they looked at, they went, by nature versus nurture, their environment changed the shape of a ventricle in their heart.
So they actually evolved in lifespan, like.
Yeah, they've changed. So I am convinced the props have something the same. They've bigger abdominal muscles, they've fatter arses, they've wider hips, bigger pelvises. They've huge necks. You know, it doesn't matter how many weights certain people do on a neck.
Yeah.
It doesn't widen your neck threefold. It just makes the muscles stronger. So why, you know, they've obviously all got mallet heads, but like, yeah, they are literally a different breed. And I wonder, are they, like, is it something they've evolved through scrummaging practice, constantly pushing against the force of an F1 car, that naturally their abdominal muscles or something stretches out, their rib cage gets bigger, because they have to absorb this force into their body that would crush the spine of another human.
It must
and that's not being...
No, but it must be, you have to catch him young too.
Yeah,
but
you cannot convert to front row play.
No.
Unless you've done it from age 8 or 9.
But even you see some lads are a bit, they don't have the build, we'll say, of Tyke Furlong.
Yeah.
If ever a man was built.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know, he's actually physically very fit.
Yeah.
But he's built like a cow.
Yeah.
He has the body of a cow.
Yeah.
But you take somebody like maybe Dave Kilcoyne then.
Yeah.
Who's a bit on the tubby side, but...
Yeah.
He looks more like a jackhammer than he does a cow, you know, so...
Yeah, even though the likes of Andrew Porter, who's on for once, I don't know, he's young and he's promising, but he looks like a guy who's been more manufactured in the gym to go into the front row than Tyke Furlong, who looks like he was born in a scrummaging machine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Throwing around bales around the place.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
That different, and again, that probably comes... You know, I always remember a guy called Liam Hennessy describing to us about six-packs. He said you used to see six-packs in the 50s and 60s and 70s. People didn't have them because what they were actually using was the deeper muscle in their stomach, because they were physically active all day long. They were labouring out in the fields. They were working 12 hours a day. So it wasn't like honing musculature in the gym. So those surface muscles, superficial muscles, didn't get honed.
There was no need in them.
There was no need. There was no, because everything else was really sturdy and stable.
Yeah.
So if you look at Spartacus, the film, and all these topless Roman guys walking around, there's no six packs. But if you look at Sparta, the movie, everyone's got a six pack. He made that reference point. I always remember that visually, that point he made. Everyone in Sparta had a six pack. No one in Spartacus had one 40 years earlier. They're all walking around with their tops off. You know what I mean? So what's changed? And the manufactured side of bodybuilding, muscularity, weightlifting versus your Tyke Furlong, had he done no weights, he'd have still looked like that.
Yeah. And I suppose that's it. Like, you wonder too sometimes, like, lads are trying to get jacked too, because it looks good on the pitch too when you look ripped, like, and the jerseys are all skin tight now.
Spray on now,
Do you know, when you look at somebody like Sonny Bill Williams, like, he makes you just want to just get sick. You know what I mean? Now, I know genetically he's of Samoan descent, and those boys have, but like you take, you put him up, somebody like we said, Tyke Furlong or John Hayes.
Yeah.
Who do you want?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, you ain't getting six packs there, like. Yeah. No. But these lads could throw you through a wall if needs be, like,
Yeah, just that absolute natural freak strength, yeah.
But you said going back, you said you were a mouthy out half. Was it always going to be out half for you? Like, I suppose, as you said, you enjoyed football and you enjoyed soccer as well, like, so.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I probably shouldn't. I think I possibly shouldn't have been an out half, because you have to be a game strategist, which I wasn't. I was very impulsive and I was very instinctive, and that can work. I think that used to work in
scrum
the 70s.
Half or winger nearly would have suited
scrum
you,
half or winger. Yeah, and I played scrum half and wing for the Irish 21s.
Did you?
Yeah. My first game ever on the wing, I had to mark Doug Howlett in the Under-21 World Cup.
Sweet
and he
suffering
took
Jesus.
the piss out of me. I remember. And he ran around me about 6 times.
Hold the record for most tries for all the All Blacks.
Yeah, Warren Gatland. It was down in Argentina. Warren Gatland had travelled down to the World Cup, and he was on. Now, it was only back then Under-21's World Cup in 1998 or 99. It wasn't like in a big stadium. It was in a sports ground, like a club sports ground. We were playing New Zealand Under-21s, and Doug Howlett ran around for about the 4th time, and I was literally lying eating dirt. And I remember looking up and Warren Gatland's feet. I just looked up. He was standing there just nodding his head at me, just tut-tutting. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
So you went down Harlequins. How long did you stay in Harlequins?
2 years only.
Was it good crack?
That was my favourite part of my career by a country mile.
Really?
A brilliant group of lads, great coaching team. We won the European Challenge Cup, the UEFA Cup.
Oh, yes, yeah.
The big biro was called the Parker Pen Cup or Shield, whatever it was. The tier below the Champions Cup. So we won that. We beat Claremont in the final in front of about 50,000 people.
Savage.
And just the crack we had. We had an unbelievable group, but they made a couple of crucial mistakes. On the back of that success, they did a squad clear out. They went, we got to invest, and so they got rid of 13 lads from a really tight squad. They brought in a bunch of guys that
mercenaries
probably didn't fit.
Yeah.
And naturally, as was the course of my career, I got a major injury. Rob Henderson was playing against Munster in the Heineken Cup that January, and Rob Henderson trampled all over me legally, just carrying the ball, and broke my foot in 2 places.
He was a unit all the same, wasn't he?
And I ended up having to get screws in my foot, and I didn't play for Harlequins again because they signed. I remember meeting the head coach, Mark Evans, and I was on my way back from this foot injury, and I was like, how am I fixed? And he was like, yeah, he goes, you've been great, like we won it last year. He goes, I think you should move on though. And I was like, I don't want to move on. Like, would you not give me a contract? He goes, I would give you a contract. He goes, but we're bringing in someone else. And I went, hold on a minute, now let me hang around and fight.
Yeah.
And he was like, nah. He goes, we're just going to pick this guy no matter how bad or injured or sick he is, because we're paying a lot of money. So he was so straight with me. But it turns out it was Andrew Mertens, who was the world record, record point scorer at the time.
The All Black, like. Oh, my God. Okay.
And so he was decent. He kind of gave me a heads up and he said, you're a good player. You shouldn't be second choice. You could start in another Premiership team. And I got a contract to go to Bath.
Okay, yeah.
So I went to Bath. But that kind of went tits up then as well.
What happened in Bath?
The guy who signed me got the Australian job. So I started for Bath for first 4 games of the year. I got man of the match up in Welford Road.
Against Leicester.
And that was my last start for Bath. But the guy who took the Aussie job, John Connolly, his assistant came in, literally just different ideas, And you think you're persecuted and it's personal at that stage. It wasn't. He just came in and said, "You're very impulsive, you're instinctive. I have no trust in you running our game the way I want it run, so you're not going to play for us." I said, "It's not personal." I immediately thought it was personal. But when I think back, he'd every right to say that and do it. He said, "Tough, I've looked at you, you're not the fit for me." So I kind of arsed around there for the year playing reserves Monday night rugby.
Right.
And ended up coming back to Ireland then.
Back to Connacht.
Back to Leinster.
Back to Leinster?
Yes, yeah. I was very journeyman at this stage.
Right.
So I think I was in this shitty position a professional player would be in. You're not really wanted by anyone, but they want you as a backup at that stage. You're like, oh.
I often think that. Because you look at somebody like Albie Matheson, who's gone to Munster. Unbelievable. Yeah. And he's ripped to smithereens, so he's clearly a pro.
Yeah.
But you're like,
he'll end up being a backup for someone else somewhere else.
Who's loaning this guy out? But he's just at that point in his career too. He's 32.
Yeah, you become the guy who's the squad member who might get us out of trouble one day, but in reality, I'm not hanging my hat on him. And I think the Leinster, the board of management were keen for me to come back, but Michael Cheika wasn't, and he felt like...
Is he as much of a bollocks as he seems?
I thought he was a horrible, horrible person, certainly to a large group of the squad. Like, zero respect for a lot of the things he did in that year. However, he did turn around Leinster rugby, in terms of...
He got it done, yeah.
He got it done, the toughness, but he didn't need to do it by, I think, abjectly, disrespecting people. And he would put your name up on a window, inside of a window, sellotaped with your name, not required today. You drive all the way into work. You're working your ass off.
Are you joking?
It's like, I don't want you here today.
He
wouldn't give you a reason.
Have anybody ever snapped and just dropped him?
Oh, he's a tough bastard. I wouldn't have thrown a dig at him. He would have kicked the shit out of me, I'd say. But, so I just talked behind his back. But he was a gnarly kind of Aussie back rower. No, there would have been... The closest I ever saw to a bust-up was Mike Ruddock being the Leinster coach in my first season.
Yeah.
And a big, burly man, like incredibly strong.
He's a big old unit.
And
Rhys Ruddock's father.
Yeah, and he went on to coach Wales, win a Grand Slam. But he also gave me my first ever professional contract, so I was kind of forever indebted to Mike. But I was such a kid. Like, I looked like a kid, I felt like a kid. We were in the changing rooms. I was a sub, and I think we surrendered a lead, 21-0 lead to Clonettley in Donnybrook in the European Cup game. And Mike brought us in the next morning for a punishment session. And some lads had been out in the piss, and a couple of lads came in stinking of booze, and Mike went off on one and said, "We're going to go out and do some sprints." And he said something like slip of the tongue, and a few lads started to chuckle and giggle at him. And then, because some lads were kind of giddy hungover, it started to be a bit more laughter. And even though he was tearing into lads for fucking up a European game the day before, there was lads giggling in the change room, and he went apeshit. So he said... he said, "I'm going out to the car. I'll be back in a minute." He went out to get boxing gloves, and he came into the changing room and said, "Who wants to go?" And Trevor Brennan stood up and said, "I'll have a go."
Oh, Jesus!
And I was like a callow little 18-year-old. I barely had pubic hair at this stage, and these two absolute mentalist men were standing about to square off in the changing rooms, and lads were holding them apart. And I was just going, "Mother of Jesus!"
Let him go. That'd be a fight worth seeing. Trevor Brennan
versus Mike Ruddock in the changing rooms in Donnybrook on a Sunday morning. Who wouldn't want to see that? Oh man, it's such a pity it didn't go ahead.
So how long did you last in Leinster the second time round then?
A year. And again, to me that was one of the formative years of my career, because I tried the hardest and I got the least kind of headway. No matter how hard I tried, I just realised this guy absolutely doesn't want me, and he's making a point to someone else that he doesn't want me. He doesn't care.
He's going to pull me in at 10 at that stage.
Yeah, but I was Leinster wanted me back to cover Felipe.
Right.
Didn't want me to compete. He just didn't want me competing with Felipe, because he had a couple of other guys he thought covered more positions. And then there was Johnny Sexton was in the academy. He was coming through. So I'm sure Czech was looking at this going, 4 doesn't go into 3. Yeah. This guy's being put on top of me. And I think most spiky, successful coaches do not like getting handed a player. I select my squad, So I think there was a clash in that sense. I didn't see that at 26, 27. I felt victimised. He probably felt undermined in his job. So there was this constant battle. He's like, you can fuck off. And
Plus, 10s tend to back themselves too. Like, because you do have to have a bit of an ego as a 10.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're going, you could probably do a better job than
Yeah,
Felipe,
and I think I got on and I got a drop goal in it to win a game that got us out of the group stages. And that was
who's that against?
Agen, over in Agen. And,
right.
And I
think that's on YouTube.
That was my last touch of a ball for Leinster. So
really?
I think at that stage, I think Czech was more like, he won't be playing again because he probably would have been put under pressure to give me a contract.
Oh,
I think. So it's a pretty mercenary environment when you look at it from that way.
Oh, it's cold.
But now, that's timing more than. So I had a good work ethic that year. That's why I said it was a formative year for me. I worked my ass off. I got nowhere. I just wasn't the right fit, and now I certainly don't take it personally. It was just professional sport, but I think that did me good now as a 13 years later. When you're self-employed, you have to just keep getting up in the morning, keep working. Discipline. You feel like you're getting nowhere. You're not getting any reward, but suddenly you just keep at it, and you keep at it, and you keep at it, and something turns for you. So that was really helpful for me, I think.
I suppose, it's like those KPIs, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it does. You can look out for even the tiny little bits, like
Yeah.
And you went over to Connacht then.
Yes, and I had a good start there too. And I think towards the second year, I probably enjoying Galway a bit too much. And,
that's the thing.
And I was getting old. I think I was in the departure lounge, and I think the likes of Eric and Michael Bradley were shaking their head, going like, barely making it in on time for sessions and this kind of stuff. Not what you'd like.
Yeah, God was good crack though.
Some crack.
That was some crack.
I had a magic 2 years there.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was that it then? You're like,
yeah. No, I had an offer to go to Bourgoin again, and that was to go to leave everyone, go on your own, live down in France for a winter, and be third choice maybe.
Oh, geez.
Like you were under no illusion. It wasn't like big offer, go to France. It was like move to France, sit in your house for the year, and I just went no chance. So, and I'd done my psychometric testing.
Fantastic.
So that was it. I went back and played club with Old Belvo.
Did you?
We ended up winning All Ireland in 2011, which is one of my favourite moments in maybe my overall maybe the Harlequins winning the European title, but winning the All Ireland with Belvo was
but of course that's
it's your home club.
Yeah,
they've never really come close before that, and they had a chance 2 years later to win it on the final day and lost it. But other than that, we've never really come close. There's a good quiz question. Who were the two wingers on the core Constitution side on that day in 2011? Yeah, most people get one of them. He plays in France now as a winger.
Oh. He plays in France as a winger?
Yes. Ah, come on.
It's not Simon Zebo.
It is. He was on the wing that day.
Was he?
The other wing was Peter O'Mahony. So,
stop.
Good quiz question.
That's a great quiz question.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Jesus. So in today's kind of looking on then, like you said, you were an impulsive player. So do you look at somebody like, because I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, I suppose it comes down to what the coach wants and all the rest of it, isn't it? Like you look at somebody like Joey Carberry, like that's what he is.
I have a leaning towards players who show flair. I have to be careful because I suppose I'm a pundit now as well.
You're a pundit, you see.
And you have to respect people who are strategists, and the likes of Sexton. What I would say my preferred type of player is the instinctive flair-based player, and Sexton's less so that.
It's sexy, like too, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
it is. But he's probably systematically gone out and won games for teams that they never deserved to win over the last 10 years. That wouldn't have been something that was in my armoury. O'Gara did it year in, year out, week in, week out. He strategically unpicked teams. He built pressure. I tell you who likes playing with those players is the other players. And,
I suppose.
And the forwards.
Yeah.
Because, playing with a guy who's instinctive, the opposition don't know what he's going to do. Neither do his fucking teammates. So, if you've got a group that want to embrace that, that's great. If they don't want to embrace it, they're pulling their hair out. And at times they're thinking, what did he fucking do that for? So, I think.
Do you reckon they'll try and train the crack out of him, though, if that's the case? Because that was surely Zebo's.
My biggest fear for Irish rugby at present is that, and it happened English football, I think in the 80s and 90s, they fear individualism. Like guys like Matt Letizia, guys like Glenn Hoddle, they never got many caps. Oh no, he's too individualistic. But actually, if you can get the best out of individuals, give them some creative input, and shape them a bit, as opposed to they don't constantly play shape and structure, therefore they don't fit. That's a huge risk in any sport, I think. So unfortunately, I think that seems to be Joe Schmidt's style at the moment, is absolutely autocratic. He's in control of almost every facet of play, and players have to go by the script. And I think he doesn't like it if they go off script and it works, fine. But I'd say if they go off script and it doesn't, you're a dead man.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's like Zebo now did never sat right with him.
Of course it wouldn't. You
only
have to look at Zebo and know that. I don't know the lad, but he looks like he's having a bit of fun. And there's so few people like that.
Yeah,
It's nice watching Lowry smiling a bit on Sunday.
Do you know what? That's what everybody loves about it.
Just have a laugh as well. No, it's not going to be in everyone's nature. But I refer back to my brother, talking about sport being a joy vacuum.
Yeah.
And he's right. Professional sport I saw it so much in rugby. I see it in underage rugby. I see a dad and he comes on are we going to beat the All Blacks next week? And he's down at a mini rugby game on a Sunday.
Jeez.
And they're doing rucking practice and the kids are walking around miserable and you're like, surely they should be having a bit of fun and learning the skills.
I'm very drawn to players that step. Now, sometimes lads don't have the physical confidence either while in front of a camera or a microphone.
Yeah.
To like some of the fighters, like I was saying, the lads are intense, but when you can soften them out a bit, and they can curse and swear if they want, they tend to free up a bit. I do always somebody who I find myself being drawn to every time he's on a podcast anywhere is Joe Marler. Have you ever listened to if there was a fuck? If his pockets were full of fucks, he wouldn't even let you look at him. The man doesn't, and he's after getting called back into the England squad. He was like, "Nah, I'm fucking done." Nah, she's your man.
He's
won't
his
even
own
look
man.
at it.
He's his own man. You have to respect.
I
him.
love that. And was it the fear of the PR crowd coming down on you? What's the fear that you're going to give something away to the opposition if you actually talk like a human, or is it? Do you think it's just a nerves thing that they're not used to letting her lip? Somebody like your man Nick. What's his name? Nick the Honey Badger. That guy's worth a contract if he never picked up a ball.
True.
He's worth a contract because he'll put arses on seats purely because of the crack out of it.
Well, I think there's it's very interesting. They'll imitate and they'll emulate people. Like most guys are so homogenized now. When they go into an interview, I don't thankfully have to do interviews as for off the ball, but I know it's the least favorite part of all their jobs. They're like, I have to hang around for 2 hours and listen to shite platitudes. No one wins. They don't want to be there. We don't want to be there. No one wants to read about it. It's utter shit. It's just constant dross. And so I don't know. I think players are fearful of if they do say something, if they are themselves, it's clickbait. It's used against them. It's kind of put in a different light, or it's, so they're better off just saying nothing. But some personalities just don't give a toss about that. And they're the best, most fun. Like, James Lowe is hilarious.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
And he also plays like he just doesn't care about what he's been told to do. He just does whatever he wants. And I've rarely seen a guy from out wide have so much influence feeding back in to the team. Usually they're the pacifists. They're like on the receiving end of everything that goes on in the middle, and then they finish it off. But he shapes a game from the wing because there's constantly guys running near him to get an offload because he's going to do a back flick or a basketball pass or fuck it away.
Plus he gives the likes of Johnny Sexton shit all the time. No, he gives him shit on the pitch.
And he's his own man. He's got a bit of the honey badger about him. But
he does,
long live these lads, because sport would be so dull without them. And they're getting less and less.
Are you enjoying the punditry? Because you're on a fair bit,
Yeah, I do. I think, honestly, the reason I enjoy it is because it's not my job.
Yeah.
And I'm not guarding it. And if Off the Ball rang me tomorrow and said, we never want you to do another day, I'd go, grand. It wouldn't bother me. So I give my honest opinion. And I wouldn't want to be relying on it anyway. They don't pay very well.
No, they don't. News talk don't pay very well, no.
It's actually embarrassing how badly they pay. But, I do enjoy it. It was pure accident. It was kind of, the week after Anthony Foley died,
Yeah.
Dave McIntyre rang me because a lot of the pundits, or my age or older, would have been colleagues or friends of Anthony, and a lot of them just said, look, I'm not going to do it for a couple of weeks. They were so sick of it, of rugby and of punditry. And Dave McIntyre rang me and said, we've rang about 35 lads.
Story of your life.
He said, he goes, can you come to France this Saturday to watch Leinster against Montpellier? And at that stage, this is 2 and a bit years ago, I was like, I wasn't following rugby as much as I am now. And I went, okay, sure. I said, what am I going to do? I've never to commentate. And he was like, yeah. He goes, don't worry, you don't have to say a thing. I'll be commentating. I'll prompt you. And I said, sure, I don't even know everyone on the squad. And he was like, perfect. He goes, you're perfect. You're absolutely perfect for this. Say very little. Come along. He goes, it'll be a once off. We'll pay you. And that's it. You just get us out of Dodge. And I was like, fuck it, yeah, we'll go to Montpellier.
Grand.
So we went out for a few beers on the Friday night, got up and went to the match. Oh, he was very good, Dave. He prompted me through the match. He was giving me hand signals to shut up when I need to shut up. He said, say very. He said, the good thing with you is, he goes, you're nobody. I can tell you to be like this. He goes, I can't tell Woody to shut his fucking mouth when he's commentating on a match. So he goes, actually, by perverse logic, the producer was like, there was lovely flow to that. He goes, lovely flow to that. He goes, and then suddenly they asked me back. So it pays to be a nobody.
Do you know what? You came in under the radar, because I knew I'd heard of you, but then you'd gone away. Yeah. Physically, you'd gone out of everybody's. Yeah. And then you're back on News Talk. It's like, must be Belvo thing or something.
Yeah, it was for Dave McIntyre was in school. Jobs for the boys, lads.
Jobs for the boys. But it does, I mean, because in fairness, I've noticed too, I mean, you've got a job to do here now too, because you're going to have clients coming in. I do like how you don't back down on a thing, because you were adamant that the ruck was going to fuck us up. We were rucking so much. Adamant. And you could see it. We'd burned through the whole Six Nations. We were absolutely running on ashes at that stage, and everybody had found us out. Yeah. And they're like, let's just drag these fuckers into dark, deep waters. Yeah. And we put in like 40 or 50 extra rucks. Boys can't keep up with that.
It's absolutely killing me. I don't think I was right, but it doesn't give me any joy that I was right. I would much rather see us change. My big fear is the players will be chastised for not executing well enough, and we're just going to keep doing it better until we execute it well. That's my fear. But like, if everyone else can see it, if me and you can see it, a guy of Joe Schmidt's intelligence and I suppose the experience, he's coaching different. He coached Leinster to play in a very different way. Yeah, I think.
But you've seen every one of those players. Like when Stander came on the scene first, he was finding holes and he was doing fucking 80-meter sprints. And now you have him doing 1 meter, bang, bang, bang. You wonder why Sean O'Brien's hips are giving out. Yeah. You can't keep doing that shit.
It's like cruelty to animals. You cannot keep asking people to run into walls and say, get up and just do it again with the same amount of gusto. You know, go out into a heavyweight fight and allow yourself to be punched repeatedly for 12 rounds. Do it next Saturday. And, what's the problem? Where's your energy levels gone?
That's exactly it.
Floyd Mayweather... Did he ever get hit?
Nope.
In 50 fights?
No.
You know what I mean?
That's why he hit people so many times that his hands give out. Yeah. More so rather than his brain or his face.
But he wasn't running into brick walls every week. And even though rugby is the buzzwords win the collisions and the red zone and all this fucking shite jargon, it's still about running into space and it's still about skill level.
Why do you think Zebo is the top try scorer in the top 14?
It's not an accident.
Because he just finds the holes and just runs it. Yeah. He doesn't, and that's a man that does not want to get hit.
He plays with a bit, and I think there's a healthy fear there in a lot of players that I certainly had as a younger, smaller guy, like a genuine fear for my life. You've got to run into
Jerry
space.
Collins is trying to kill you.
When I went into the gym and started to bulk up a bit, I started to fancy my chances.
Oh yeah,
and then you're getting your shoulders broken. Yeah. So like that fear of contact has gone away from all the players. They're not avoiding contact; they're actually actively seeking it out in order to set up another phase. Because there's no real fear of combat. It's just, can I win the collision? Can I not win the collision? But there's no fear. They're just running in and smashing each other all day long. And I think the fear there that the likes of Sebo has, whether you call him a windbag or he doesn't like the physical stuff, he's finding plenty of space. So,
and it's more interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you fare to wrap up? I mean, let's go pure punditry altogether.
Oh, yeah.
How do you think we're fair? Do you think anything will change? Will we make the semi-final?
No.
No.
I don't think so. I don't think he's going to change. I think
It's too late to change anyway.
yeah, certainly in terms of I think there'd be a huge emphasis on having a bit of a rest period and then going into a World Cup trying to execute the plan to the greatest degree we could possibly do it, like we did against the All Blacks. Yeah. And I would be very worried about Scotland first up.
Yeah.
Very.
And did you see the Springboks at the weekend?
Yeah.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah, and like if all goes well,
And
we get the reward of playing them in the quarterfinal.
Yeah,
That's if everything goes well. So scary.
So yeah, same old story.
Well, I hope I'm wrong, but at the moment, I think we're in a bit of trouble.
So if we learned anything throughout this podcast, the main thing I do think is that send your kids to Belleville.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jobs everywhere.
Jobs everywhere. It's
punditry jobs,
physio jobs, you name it. It's all fucking locked in.
Yeah.
Just
I wonder what's next.
You could end up being a pro.
I'm miserable now, self-employed, so maybe
let's get you into comedy.
Any Belleville guys out there?
Let's get you into comedy. Why not? There's probably a couple of Belleville guys own a few comedy clubs around the place. And headlining this week, you won't have heard of him before. Who the fuck is this guy?
Story of my life, that one.
Yeah, this has been fucking fantastic. Went way longer than you bet you thought it did.
It did.
Yeah, where are we?
I don't know.
Nearly hour and 15 minutes in. Yeah.
God.
Andrew, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Tom.
My thanks again to Andrew/Andy. So, I know he says he's not into social media and all the rest. If you do want to follow him or get a really good physio, because he was able to diagnose my busted elbow just looking at it. Hit him up on Twitter at PHDunner, PHDUNNER. He's a funny bastard, as you can tell. My thanks again for listening in. Give it a rating, give it a share, and give it a subscription. Check out all the gigs at tomomahony.com. If you want to come see me at any of them, come say hello. We'll have a good time. Right, go on away. Have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you again on Tuesday.